Play of the game.
Hello everybody, as always I am Cosmic and today it is time to give my first impressions of Blizzard's MOBA inspired team shooter Overwatch. Now I am a little late to this party, but I thought I would play the game a hell of a lot first before I actually sat down and gave my thoughts and views on the game. For those who don't know what Overwatch is a team-based shooter that incorporates MOBA elements that is focused around objective-based team play. The game is currently in beta, so please be aware that anything that you do see may be subject to change. So like I said, it is a team-based shooter that at its core is designed to encourage team play, and it could be argued that it requires good team play and good cooperation to really succeed at the game, which I'll admit that is quite true, especially against the more organised teams. There are a few game modes in the beta at the moment, such as the push the payload, which is escorting a payload from objective 1 to objective 2, or you have the point capture matches, with Blizzard recently introducing more fun modes like the Genji and Hanzo only mode, where only players can play as Genji and Hanzo, and it's about playing a point capture match with only those characters. The biggest thing that makes Overwatch different from any other shooter is not only that it is more objective focused team play, but it's also about the MOBA inspired elements, such as characters having a limited number of abilities, and the fact that there is no different weapons loadout or anything like that. It's all about, here's your character, play as them, they have abilities, the abilities have cooldowns, and each character has a specific role. So there's tanks, there's support, there's offensive characters, there's defensive characters, and each character, which is one of my favourite things, is that each character, regardless of their role, so each of the tanks play very, very differently. They are supposed to be played differently. Reinhardt is significantly different from Winston. They're two tanks, but they have different roles. They have different ways of playing. So for example, Reinhardt is about, really taking and absorbing damage, pushing forward in a very traditional way, making sure that people are behind you so that you can put your shield up and really push forward. Whereas Winston doesn't have that kind of shield. He has a shield that is weaker and has a shorter time period. So Winston's more about the movement side of things. Winston is all about getting into the fray of the enemy team, laying down your shield so people can push forward, and running around going ape and really disrupting the enemy team so that it's causing havoc, allowing your other teammates to go in and obliterate them. There are currently 21 heroes available to play, with more on the way, and I really love the variety in the heroes. I think that each hero is designed really well at its core mechanics, not just aesthetically, even though they all look really great, sound really great, even though there is a little bit of dodgy voice acting here and there. Blizzard have designed Overwatch in a way that focuses on multiplayer solely. There's no single player campaign, there's no real story elements to the game. There is story and lore in the Overwatch world, but it's to be absorbed outside the game, and Blizzard didn't really want to clutter the game with different story elements or anything like that. It's about the sole gameplay experience, which actually Blizzard have done very, very well. For any first-person shooter, the gunplay is very important, and frankly, the shooting mechanics are solid. And to be fair, most of the mechanics in the game are very, very, very solid. It's a very well polished game. I personally don't like the fact that you can't precision aim for most characters other than characters that are snipers. However, it is a subjective minor gripe, and I think for what the game is trying to be, a combination of FPS and MOBA, I think that the majority of the hipfire shooting works very, very well, and it's accurate, and it's fun, it's fast-paced, and they've designed a really good first-person shooter. Overwatch is actually a strange one for me personally, because traditionally I haven't really stuck with or enjoyed that many Blizzard games ever since the original Warcraft games. I enjoyed World of Warcraft as what it was. At the time, played around 2 years of it, but after that got bored, and MMOs in general for me are pretty much null and void at this point. I wasn't that into the Diablo series, especially the grindy nature of the end game, and it's difficult for me in general to really stick with a multiplayer focused game that doesn't really have a lot of story content and doesn't really have a lot of traditional progression. And yet I keep coming back to Overwatch more and more. That in itself, on a personal level, is a testament to how well made this game is, how fun the core mechanics are, how well designed it is, how balanced it is. And yes, it's not perfectly balanced, but it's so skill based that I never feel at a disadvantage by choosing a specific character. For me, I prefer, when I'm playing tank, I like Winston. I like Bastion a lot. I love playing Bastion. I like the idea that I can just go plant myself in turret form and then lay down a hell of a lot of fire and take out the entire enemy team if they all choke up together. I like Pharah. I like a ton of different characters, to be fair. I'm not particularly great at support characters as of yet. I'm trying to really get a grasp on Mercy, but that in itself is a lot of fun because I like the idea that I can really try a lot of different characters to really get my own playstyle in the game and be successful as those characters. For me, one of the most pivotal and important mechanics of the game is how you can change heroes during a battle. And this for me is one of the reasons, possibly the major reason for me personally, why Overwatch is so fun and is probably going to be so successful. Instead of having a traditional class system like you have in an FPS, such as just changing out your classes, so you want to be a sniper or you want to be something like this and you just change a loadout of weapons, you're instead changing characters. You're changing, like you would in a MOBA, between matches, you're changing characters with various abilities and different playstyles. But you're doing that as the game progresses, as the match itself progresses, which means it's like a game of chess. There's moves and counter moves. The team fields an enemy, a select group of heroes, and if your heroes aren't doing well against those heroes, change, counter them, do something different, try and switch up your tactics. That in itself is one of the reasons why the game is so engaging and it is so fun. I never feel at a disadvantage going into the game, unlike a traditional Dota 2 MOBA or something like that, where you have selected your character pre-match and it doesn't matter how well or badly you're doing, you're stuck with that character for 40 plus minutes. And that can be real painstaking, to be fair, because if you're having a team in a Dota 2 match that is really bad or things haven't gone your way, you're stuck. There's nothing you can do about it. Whereas in Overwatch, you can completely switch it up, completely reverse your tactics, reverse the characters that you want to play, and just head on and continue and just keep pushing. And that in itself is just phenomenal. And I think that putting that in the game is possibly going to be the biggest reason why Overwatch is going to be so successful, because especially when it comes down to skill-based play, it allows me to enter the game and focus solely on my skill. It allows me to focus solely on my team. What is my team doing? Are we coordinating? Are we skillful? Are we really thinking about what tactics the enemy's using? And it's down to me. The onus is put on my skill, on my ability to coordinate with my team, and not on the balance is off, the characters are wrong, we're stuck, it's too late, this was over before it began, and all that good stuff. The level design too is really well designed. There's a lot of different paths to take, even though the levels aren't particularly open-ended. It would be interesting to see what a really open map would do to the game and how that would actually affect the core mechanics. And I think that Blizzard should try and do a larger scale map just to see, if that was actually fun to play in. I think overall Blizzard have designed a really good FPS game that has a great focus on multiplayer and team play. I like that the game modes are all objective based rather than being focused on how many kills you get. I like that it could have possible esports potential. It would be interesting to see how that would work, and if it is an enjoyable esport to watch. Some people enjoy watching first-person shooter esports. I personally don't. I've never been that into CSGO or anything like that, and I don't find it particularly fun to watch. However, it would be interesting to see if Overwatch could pull an esports scene off and if it could be successful in the esports scene. One of the biggest things that will be coming up in the future months is obviously the showdown between Overwatch and Battleborn, which is interesting, and I think that the competition is healthy for the industry. I think that Overwatch will win on the multiplayer side of things. And the interesting thing is that Battleborn's designed very differently to Overwatch in the sense that Battleborn is focused on story rather than multiplayer. In Battleborn you have a full single player campaign, you have a multitude of modes, etc, etc. So I think that in terms of story, I think probably Battleborn will win. However, in terms of pure gameplay mechanics and pure focus on multiplayer, then I think Overwatch is going to win big time against Battleborn. And I think when it ultimately comes down to it, in terms of longevity and player base, I think Overwatch already has it hands down, and I think that Overwatch has won before it's even out of the gate. Which is not to say that Battleborn isn't going to retain a multiplayer community and that it's going to be a bad game. I just think that the quality of Overwatch thus far, even in beta, the polish, the balance, and the content to come is just going to be far superior and far more fun to play than Battleborn will be. So that's my first impressions of Overwatch. Thank you so much for watching and listening to me ramble on and on and on. Please do like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Do share the video, and I will see you next time.